She had been in that relationship for 6 years. Not because she was happy. She hadn't been happy in 2. Not because things were getting better. They weren't. She stayed because of the 6 years. Because walking away felt like standing in the everything she'd built and saying it meant nothing. So she stayed. And it got worse. There's a man in Chicago who has hated his job for 3 years straight. He knows it. His body knows it. He feels it every Sunday night. But he spent 4 years getting the degree. 6 months in training, turned down 2 other offers to be here. So he stays. And there's an investor, smart, experienced, watching a stock fall 40%. Every signal says sell. But she bought in at the top. And selling now means one thing. So she holds. Then it drops another 20%. 3 different people, 3 different situations. One invisible force quietly making the decision for all of them. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. And right now, it is running your life. In ways you haven't even noticed yet. Here's what makes the sunk cost fallacy so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a bias. It feels like loyalty. It feels like responsibility. It feels like not being a quitter. Think about the relationship again. You're not staying because you're blind to the problems. You see them clearly. You just can't stop doing the math. 6 years of holidays. 6 years of inside jokes is building a life with someone. And your brain tells you, if you leave now, all of that disappears. So you stay, you have one more conversation. You give it one more month. You make one more compromise. And with every compromise, the sunk cost grows. You're not just trapped by the 6 years anymore. You're trapped by the 6 years and 7 months, then 8, then 9. It works exactly the same way at work. The guy in Chicago isn't delusional. He knows the job is wrong for him. But his brain runs a calculation he never asked it to run. 4 years of school. 6 months of training. 2 offers turned down. Leaving now makes all of that a mistake. And his brain, your brain, will do almost anything to avoid that conclusion. So it manufactures reasons to stay. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe this is just a rough patch. Maybe I just need to give it more time. Sound familiar? And the investor, she's not irrational. She has an MBA. She's read the reports. She knows what the numbers mean. But here's what the numbers can't fix. The moment she sells, it becomes real. Right now, the loss only exists on a screen. The second she hits sell, so she waits. She refreshes the portfolio. She reads one more analyst report. She tells herself she's being patient. Meanwhile, the stock drops another 20%. This is how the sunk cost fallacy operates. Not with force, with whispers. It whispers you've come too far to stop now. It whispers, what would people think? It whispers just a little longer, it has to turn around. And every day you listen, the cost of leaving gets higher. The worst part, you already know. Some part of you has always known. But knowing isn't enough, because this isn't a logic problem, it's a brain problem. And to understand how to fix it, you first need to understand exactly what's happening inside your head. In 1979, 2 psychologists ran an experiment. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, the same researchers who would later win the Nobel Prize for their work on human decision-making. They asked people a simple question. Imagine you bought a ticket to a play. $10. You arrive at the theater and realize you've lost the ticket. Would you buy another one? Most people said no. $10 gone. The math doesn't add up. Walk away. Then they asked a different group the same question, with one small change. Imagine you haven't bought a ticket yet, but you've just lost a $10 bill on the way to the theater. Would you still buy a ticket? This time, 88% said yes. Same $10. Same loss. Completely different decision. Why? Because your brain doesn't track money in one account. It tracks it in mental accounts. The first group felt like they'd already paid for the play, and paying again meant paying twice. The second group just felt like they'd had a bad day. Kahneman and Tversky called this loss aversion. And here's the number that should stop you cold. Losing something feels twice as painful as gaining the same thing feels good. Not a little more painful. Twice. Which means when you're standing at the exit of a bad situation, your brain isn't weighing the pros and cons. It's screaming at you that leaving is a loss, and losses to your brain are emergencies. But that's only part of the story. In 2024, researchers at Oxford University went deeper. A team led by PhD researcher Eleanor Hulton used neuroimaging to identify exactly which part of the brain drives sunk cost behavior. The answer, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, your vmPFC. Think of it as your brain's commitment engine. Its job is to keep you locked onto a goal, to filter out distractions and keep pushing forward. Under normal circumstances, that's a feature. But the vmPFC has a flaw. It cannot tell the difference between healthy persistence and catastrophic stubbornness. It just keeps the engine running. Whether you're training for a marathon or staying in a job that is slowly breaking you, to your vmPFC, commitment is commitment. And here's where it gets stranger. In 2018, a research team published a study in the journal Science. They tested sunk cost sensitivity across 3 groups: mice, rats, and humans. All 3 species showed the same pattern. The more time they had already invested in a failing option, the harder they worked to keep going. Think about that. This isn't a modern problem. This isn't social media or capitalism or the way we were raised. This is ancient wiring. Your ancestors needed to persist, to push through hunger, through danger, through failure. Quitting too easily got you killed. So evolution built in a system that makes quitting feel wrong, even when quitting is exactly the right move. And then society made it worse. Because we have a word for people who quit. We don't celebrate the investor who cuts her losses early and redirects her capital. We celebrate the one who held on until it turned around. We don't honor the person who left the wrong relationship at year 2. We tell stories about the couple who worked through it for 40 years. Every message you've received since childhood has said the same thing. Real people don't quit. And so your vmPFC has cultural backup. Your brain wants to hold on. Your culture is telling you to hold on. No wonder knowing isn't enough to stop it. Now you understand what you're dealing with. Not weakness, not stupidity. Ancient biology running on modern problems. That changes everything. Because once you know the mechanism, you can interrupt it. Here's how. So how do you actually stop it? not in theory, in real life, in the moment. When your brain is doing everything it can to keep you locked in. Here are 3 hacks that work, and more importantly, why they work. Hack 1, the stranger test. Here's the problem with asking yourself what to do. Your brain is the one being asked, and your brain is the one running the bias. So you need to remove yourself from the equation. Here's how. Ask this instead. If my closest friend came to me right now, same situation, same history, same amount of time and money already spent, what would I tell them to do? Not what would they want to hear. What would you actually tell them? Because here's what happens. The moment you put someone else in your situation, the vmPFC disengages. You're no longer protecting your own commitment. You're advising a friend. And you will always give your friend clearer advice than you give yourself. If you're in a job you hate, ask, would I tell my best friend to stay here? If you're holding a losing investment, ask, would I tell someone I love to keep holding this? If you're in a relationship that's draining you, ask, what would I say to my sister, my brother, my closest person? The answer will come fast. Trust it. Hack 2, the 0-point reset. Your brain is anchored to the past. Every decision you make is being pulled backwards toward the money spent, the time invested, the effort already given. This hack cuts the anchor. Ask yourself one question. If I were starting completely from zero today, no history, no investment, no sunk cost, would I choose to begin this? Not continue it. Begin it. Would you choose this job if you were applying fresh today? Would you choose this relationship if you met this person for the first time tomorrow? Would you buy into this investment right now at this price with this information? If the answer is no, you're not staying because it makes sense. You're staying because of what's already behind you. And what's behind you cannot be recovered, no matter how long you stay. The only question that matters is what's in front. Hack 3. Name the real cost of staying. The sunk cost fallacy works because your brain only counts one side of the equation. It counts what you've already spent. It never counts what staying is costing you right now. So, make it count. Get a piece of paper or open your phone and write down 2 things. First, what am I losing every month I stay in this situation? Not what I've already lost, what I am actively losing right now. Time, energy, other opportunities, mental bandwidth, health, money that could be working somewhere else. Then, write the second thing. What do I actually gain by staying one more year? Not, maybe it'll get better. Not, I've come this far. Concrete gains. Real ones. If you can't write 3, your brain already has its answer. Here's what this looks like in practice. If you're holding a losing stock, your list might say, staying costs me $400 a month in continued losses. 2 better positions I'm not taking. The mental energy of checking it every single day. Staying gains me. The possibility, not the certainty, of a recovery that may never come. When the cost of staying is written in plain language, it becomes very difficult for your brain to keep pretending it's the rational choice. 3 hacks. The stranger test, to get distance from your own bias. The 0-point reset, to cut the anchor to the past. Name the real cost of staying, to make both sides of the equation visible. You don't have to use all 3. Sometimes 1 is enough, but you have to use at least 1. Because your brain, left alone, will always choose to stay. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The time is gone. The money is gone. The years are gone. And no amount of staying, no amount of waiting, pushing, hoping, holding on will bring any of it back. Not one day of it. The only thing that exists right now is this moment. And what you choose to do with what you have left. Walking away from something that's destroying you is not failure. It is not weakness. It is not quitting. It is the hardest, clearest, most rational decision a human brain can make against every instinct it was built with. That's not giving up. That's finally taking your life back. I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest, just with yourself. Right now in your life, is there something you're still holding on to? A job, a relationship, an investment, a path you started down years ago. Something where, deep down, a quiet part of you already knows. Drop it in the comments. You don't have to name it. You don't have to explain it. You can just type, "I know," and I'll see you there. If this hits something real for you, subscribe, because next week we're going deeper. We're breaking down confirmation bias, the reason your brain only ever finds evidence that you're already right. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. I'll see you then.